Okay, yeah, welcome back to Ich bin ein Berliner, which does not mean I'm a jam
I'm a
donut.
jelly
That's
donut.
a
Yes,
myth.
that's a myth.
That's a
Yes.
myth. That's a myth. It's probably the worst myth associated with John F. Kennedy. It's a bit of a news roundup episode again, while we prepare some more focused fare for you.
Well, and just a lot happened. A lot happened this week. It was like
Yeah, exactly. A metric fuck ton or two.
I was gonna do something else, and then we just got hit with these 4 stories, and I'm like, God, I gotta I can't do the other thing. We gotta talk about this.
But we are rounding it up. That's what we're doing.
We are.
The news, we are rounding it up for you. But first, Daniel, how's everything?
Well, I still live in the United States, so
yeah,
about what you'd expect. I'm alive. I'm here. I will say I talked about this, I think, a little bit in the main series. I am recently divorced, and things are feeling more stable. I realized I was very depressed for a long time, especially with the broken ankle and all the other stuff, and still looking for full-time work, but that's a thing that happens. But I realized I kind of got behind on some stuff because I just didn't have the energy to focus in on it. So a lot of these stories is like, oh, I could have covered some of this 2 months ago, but I just wasn't paying as close attention as I should have been. But I'm getting back on the ball, and I think that's myself to a high standard here. And so I expect the audience to do the same. So just letting you know, sorry if you felt like I let you down. We're getting back in the saddle. It's working. So
I think you're too hard on yourself, but never mind. So I wanted to mention one thing first, which is that we just recently put out a bonus episode, which by the time this is released on the main feed, I will have released a fairly substantial snippet of that for people as a teaser to try to lure them in, But it was about the Kurt Vonnegut novel Mother Night and its movie adaptation, which I found that very interesting to talk about.
And I re-listened to that episode, and that was I think that's one of our best bonuses, honestly. I was unsure when we were recording it because we kind of went through just the whole plot, but I think it was a really interesting listen.
I was pleased with that. But the funny thing was, I was on YouTube, looking for something to listen to on the old phone, and I saw that a new video had been posted by a YouTuber I really like, and I know you really like her too. And
yes.
in fact, I probably know about her because you told me about her.
I'm certain that's true. Yes.
That's probably true. Yeah. Angela Collier. And
yes. I follow her Patreon. That's how much I like Angela Collier. Yeah. She's great. She's
terrific.
Check out her Feynman video. If you're going to watch only one, check out the Feynman video.
It's the one that got me hooked. The Sham Legacy of Richard Feynman. Very good indeed. Yes. That's on. She has 2 channels actually. One's just Angela Collier, where she talks mainly about science, most of which I don't understand, but I listen to it anyway because she's just so interesting. And the other one is about books, a sort of her ongoing odyssey of reading. And she just posted a video. I think it's supposed to be kind of a Halloween video. It's called, rather wonderfully, it's called The Faust and the Furious. And she goes through all the different variations of the Faust myth, or the big ones anyway. And that's very interesting to me. Christopher Marlowe's play, Dr. Faustus, absolutely one of my favorite plays. I'm a big sort of Elizabethan and Jacobean theatre buff. So that was very interesting. And she goes through that, and she goes through the original source material, and she goes through the 2 Goethe plays. And she then goes through all the stuff that it leads to, which is the various versions of Faust that are written by first Klaus Mann and then his father Thomas Mann, and then the movie Mephisto. And it's just so strange because it felt almost like a sequel, completely unintentional, of course, but it felt almost like a sequel to our Mother Night episode, which even ended, as I remember, with me asking you why it's called Mother Night, and you telling me that comes from Goethe's Faust, which I was embarrassed that I'd forgotten. But great video. And the point being, really, I wouldn't mention this, except that she uses this as a jumping off point to talk about fascism in America, and people who are accommodationists with it, and who try to play both sides rhetorically, who she christens Mephistos, in that video.
I might pick up that. That's great usage. We love you, Angela. That's great.
Is.
I might pick that up.
It's terrific.
The fucking Mephistos, man. Yeah, no, I hear it. I hear you. No, I love it.
Really, you need to watch or listen to the video to get it, but it works. It really does. And she even mentions
it's 2.5 hours, but it's an easy 2.5 hours. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. She's very entertaining to listen to. Very, very intelligent. Just terrific. But she even mentions, as it was going on, I was thinking this meshes perfectly as a follow-on from our Mother Night episode. It's better than that, but and we were already planning to do this news roundup episode as I'm listening to it, and she even brings up in the middle of the episode, in the context of the discussion I just mentioned about accommodationism with US fascism, she even mentions Graham Platner, which is one of the subjects we're going to be talking about,
which is our main subject tonight. Yes,
So I just wanted to point people towards that. Really,
I don't know. Link in the show notes.
Yes,
presumably.
indeed. Yeah. So I think there's one story, one of the 4 stories that we're going to talk about, which I think we're just going to gesture at because you're going to talk about it a little bit more fully on another show, and then we might come back to it, which is the Nick Fuentes going on Tucker Carlson's show for an interview.
Yes. I have been going through that video. I've gone through it twice now. I am pulling timestamps. I have been asked to come on I Have to Answer, which is Caitlin Green's podcast. She co-hosts it. I think one that you and I both really enjoy.
Yes.
Over at Liberal Currents, and we forgive the liberals for this one thing. It's fine. I think it's a really well done podcast, and I'm looking forward to going on that and kind of doing a little. I don't speak German, doing a little bit of this over there, and kind of give it a little bit more context. And if I feel like we have more to say, then we'll kind of do an episode over here as well. We'll get a little bit more into the nitty gritty. But I think that's going to be a really fun. We have not recorded that yet, so I'm not even completely prepped for it yet. But we're gonna record that this week, and hypothetically, you'll hear that certainly after you hear this. So, so we'll look forward to that. But that's when we're not really going to cover that in detail today. We're just kind of pointing at it. Nick Fuentes won on Tucker Carlson. It's terrible. Basically, I think the big story here is they're trying out people to be the new Charlie Kirk, and maybe Nick Fuentes is going to be the new Charlie Kirk. We shall see. I have my doubts, but we shall see.
Yes, indeed. Just an orgy of anti-Semitism. And
oh yes.
One of the big sort of follow-on stories was that Kevin Roberts at the Heritage Foundation immediately said afterwards, "No, we don't distance ourselves from Tucker. Yeah, we don't distance ourselves from Nick. Debate rather than shun." And what was it? He said, Christ first, America always, and it's a very interesting event for how the right are currently just re-assimilating outright Nazi anti-Semitism, despite the fact that American conservatism has been so wedded to the Zionist project in Israel for all this time. Very interesting.
Well, and
Sinister,
I think
but interesting.
Interesting. May you live in interesting times. So, we live in interesting times. But I will just point out that the cruelty of what's going on in Gaza, anti-Semites have been jumping on that since day one, and this is just one more example of it. Is the worse things get in Gaza, the worse the atrocities get, the easier it is for outright Holocaust deniers to look like the good guys. They're not the good guys. To be clear, I do not believe they're the good guys. You can be anti-Israel and not be anti-Semitic. I am anti-Israel and I'm not anti-Semitic. But
ironically, that's one of the things that they are now saying, isn't it? As they try to assimilate Nick Fuentes. He's pretty much fully assimilated into their mainstream already, but they're trying to finish the job.
Absolutely. So anyway, we will talk more about that in another time. But moving on.
So on to I think it's going to be the main story that we talk about in this news roundup, which is the Graham Platner thing. So
yes,
I don't know. Do you want to summarize what's been going on with that, or would you like me to do that?
Well, I guess maybe you kind of do your version, and then I'll maybe pinch hit. I'll kind of throw in the details as we go in there, because you may have a news article more close to the front of your mind than I do. So please continue.
So Graham Platner is a candidate for the Democratic nomination to run for the Senate in Maine against Susan Collins, I believe.
Yeah, Susan Collins is kind of a squishy moderate Republican. She's like one of the 2 or 3 that will sometimes vote on the Democratic side in the Senate. She is,
and she will sometimes
not,
claim to be perturbed by things that Trump does. Yeah.
I mean, she's every bit the Republican. She just has better optics. It's all bullshit.
Well,
Anyway,
yeah, she tries to.
you know, exactly. You and I know better. But the mainstream media does not have the scintillating intellect and insight that you and I, from thousands of miles away, have, unfortunately. In any case, Susan Collins has not, I think, officially declared whether she's going to run or not. And so Democrats are seeing this as a potential pickup, because if it's not Susan Collins, or even if it is, it's possible that a Democrat could take that seat. So to the degree I look askance at anyone who in the year 2025 has anything like the politics of the people who probably listen to this podcast, and you view the Democrats as us versus them. I find that particular rhetorical construction really vile most of the time, honestly. But to the degree that there is an us and them, like, it would be a win for us, although I do not use that construction.
The main point being that what Platner is contesting is the Democratic nomination to run for the Senate in Maine.
Yeah.
And he's up against I can't remember the woman's name, but she's in her 70s, as most Democratic.
She would be the oldest first-time senator in history, by the way. Yeah.
And she's a pretty mainline Democrat, as far as I can tell, and a hardcore Zionist, as most of them are. Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very mainstream, very center of the road, very, like a, Joe Lieberman or whatever, just a very, safe Democrat, basically.
Yeah. Platner, by contrast, has struck a what's called progressive attitude. He's toured with Bernie Sanders and on the anti-oligarchy tour, and he talks about the oligarchy, and he has some progressive stuff in his policy platforms.
Yep.
He has been a little bit critical of Israel in Gaza, for instance.
Yep. And there are like posts of his from like 2020 where he's defund the police, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, well, we'll get into that anyway. Continue.
Yeah. And of course, he's been embraced as the savior of leftism by some of the usual suspects online.
God, Jacobin has really, there was a time I respected Jacobin. No more. I'm sorry. No. God.
Yeah.
What a vile fucking magazine these days.
So he's been picking up a certain amount of momentum in this bid to be the Democratic candidate, and as I say, he's been getting lots of plaudits from sort of progressive Democrats and left Democrats. But things started to trickle out. There's old posts of his, old Reddit posts and stuff like that coming out, where he says he says things in these old posts, and they're from a few years back, which kind of run the gamut. He said some he says, I've become a communist and all cops are bastards. And in other ones, he's using the R slur and he's making racist comments and he's downplaying sexual assault. So it really is all over the map, I think.
Well, at first, I think the original thing was that he was getting canceled by the right for having like the all cops are bastards stuff from 2020.
Yeah.
And it's like, so that was the first stuff that kind of came out. It's like, no, this guy is too radically left to be a senator in Maine, and then later on, other people discovered, oh no, there's a wide variety of things that he's been posting on Reddit over the course of the last. Of course, his username was P Hustle, but that no longer is certain. That all those posts have been deleted. Wonder why.
Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, stuff like that. Rural Mainers are all racist and stupid and stuff like that. And then other stuff that certainly some who were digging around for dirt have interpreted as, radical leftism. And some of this, some of this is certainly coming from Oppo research, and some of it we know comes from people associated with Palantir and Peter Thiel and stuff like that. We know that.
Which makes it untrue, of course.
Which makes it untrue.
Not true. Yeah, exactly.
Or just makes it important, because, my enemy, the enemy of my enemy is my friend or my enemy, or depending on whether I like the person. That's how it works, I think. So, and then I think what happened was that he got, or his team got wind of the fact that this devastating video from a family wedding or something was going to
I think it's his
released.
Sister's wedding or something like that, and it was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Something like that. And he
took it to Pod Save America, which
Yeah. It's like, oh, this video surfaced of me. I better like clean my reputation now. I'm gonna go on Pod Save America. Yeah.
Get out in
Yeah.
front of it.
A great communist move there, buddy. You know,
Yeah, but
the Pod Save guys. You know,
it shows him carousing drunkenly. But the key thing is that it shows that he has among his tattoos, he has a fucking SS Totenkopf,
yes,
a huge one on the middle of his chest.
Yeah.
And of course, he's trying to get out in front of this and neutralize it. And his story is kind of, well, you know, I was a young guy in the Marines and I didn't really know what it meant and so on and so forth. And very, very clearly lying, in my opinion.
I mean, so I don't know. This is like, to me, the Nazi tattoo is the least interesting.
It's
thing
almost the
story,
least of it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing that like it's the most like kind of obvious that like people can point to. But to me, it is like, you know, look, I've known people who served. I wouldn't say I've been close to people who served in Iraq or Afghanistan, but I've been social. With people who are good progressives, good left, but left of center certainly, who saw the horrors of those wars and went like, fuck that shit. Like it is a thing. Like I get it. Platner does not seem to be that guy to me. And
no.
I get, you're in the military. You're kind of like, the whole thing that the military does is it breaks you down and then builds you back up into a tool for the military. That's why military service is so racking on people. That's the point of it. Is like you're less than human for a while, and then you become human when you leave, or as you. And sometimes people never really regain that full faculty. For me, it's look, I got drunk on the service in Croatia and got a Nazi tattoo. That does not sound implausible to me. It's fucking Croatia. Like, it's plenty of Nazis in Croatia. Let's just put it that way. As in most of Central Europe, unfortunately. Or Nazi sympathizers. Like, it does not surprise me that like he got it. It looked badass. Everybody in the team got it or whatever. And then, you didn't find out about it until later and go like, oh shit, but it's very clear there's been other reporting. Like he claimed, oh, I didn't know this until like yesterday. And then I got it covered up and I was like, no, they're like, years ago who like said you used to joke around about how you have a Nazi tattoo. Like you knew this was the thing.
Yeah.
Like,
and it is, let's be clear about this. It is very clearly a Nazi.
It is a
Totenkopf.
Yes,
it's not just a skull and crossbones. People are doing a lot of performative, oh, you can't see it very well, or I don't understand. It's just a pirate symbol and stuff like this. No, it's an SS Panzer Division symbol. It is very visibly one of those.
Yes. And he is, by his own accounting, had it on his body for nearly 2 decades. Like this is,
and even by his own account of events, what he says is that, we were young Marines and our job was to kill people. And we wanted to all have a marker that expressed who we were. Well, yes. You're conceding the point, So that's why you get that.
I'm going to say, I don't think anything that we've said up to this point is necessarily means you cannot be a very decent person and become a U.S. senator. I was dumb. I was stupid. I had a warrior mentality. I was in that place. I had a Nazi tattoo. I got it, flat on its surface. I don't think that by itself means he can't have come to a better place in his life, made amends for some of that and worked on bettering himself. I just think you have to do things in between. I had a Nazi tattoo and I had a, edgy Reddit period of like 15 years. And now I'm a socialist who wants to be a U.S. senator. I think you have to have something in between. I think you have to prove your bona fides on this. This is where I land on this, and we'll talk more about some of the details. But I saw, again, people I respect, kind of talking about like people who work with former Nazis, formers, right? And I don't name names in that context here, but we're like, well, look, he's he's working on himself, and of course, but like the Matthew Heimbachs of the world, the Jeff Shoops of the world, these guys who leave the movement and then immediately like become like, and now I'm going to be the biggest and best. I'm going to be the biggest anti-Nazi that I can be, and I'm going to be the center of attention. It's like you have not done the work on yourself. You have not done the work on yourself that's required. How do I know that? Because I fucking know it. Platner's the same fucking guy. Now, he's not a Nazi. Let's be clear about this.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody's claiming he was an ideological national socialist.
No. I don't think anybody's claiming that. I just want to be clear. Like he's not. But at the same time, based on what we've seen, what he said, I do not believe this performative, like communist leftist bullshit from him. I think it's stood away. He's trying to make a name for himself, and maybe he believes, in universal health care, et cetera, fine. You don't get to one day have a Nazi tattoo and then like 3 months later be a U.S. senator. That's just not a. You've got to do work and you've got to do work on yourself first. This is, I don't know. This is a Fetterman situation for me. This is a Kristen Sinema situation for me. They said some nice leftist things, and then the minute that they had power, it's fuck you guys. I don't know.
Yeah,
I get really strong vibes to that. So sorry, I kind of interrupted what you were doing, but like that's my kind of opinion on that, and we'll go deeper on it. But that's really where I land on it. Like, sorry, I would rather have a moderate who doesn't have that history than to have a progressive who's just going to stab us in the back. That's just, I don't know.
Yeah,
you can call it a moral stance. You can call it a practical stance. It's just a stance. I don't know. Like, it's just, I don't know. This is easy for me. Fuck that guy.
I hear nothing from him that tells me that he's actually become an anti-imperialist or against the projection of American imperial power abroad.
No. I mean, he's 100% for that. I mean, I don't know. Like you and I have this conversation. You and I have this conversation sometimes, and it's like, well, you don't get to be a U.S. senator and not believe in U.S. imperialism. It's just every candidate is gonna fully be in favor of that.
This is an important point because
I don't know. I agree. I mean, we should talk about it, but I mean, to me, it's like, well, of course he's Bernie is the same fucking way. Oh God, Bernie's been really disappointing on this. Anyway, we can continue.
Bernie's made excuses for him, because the whole thing from the so-called progressive or left Democrats has now just zeroed down into harm reduction, triage, just beat Trump, just stop Trump.
Yeah.
And it's just any other consideration. And it has just completely collapsed down into essentially the same agenda as the mainstream establishment Democrats, which is to just become a party of process, about winning seats, about winning elections at all costs. It's just the deadly irony that they've ended up in exactly the same place via a slightly different route. But no, what I was going to say was that I think it's very important to establish what we are and we aren't talking about, right?
Yes. Okay.
Because objecting to this guy as a candidate is not, at least for me, anything to do with implying that, you could have an actually progressive, meaningfully left-wing Democratic candidate. Because that's just not a possible thing, as you said.
Yeah.
Anybody that's going to be a US senator is going to be somebody who's at least tacitly or implicitly or through, collusion in favor of US imperialism. They just are. And US capitalism. They just are. That's just what it is. That's just what the Democratic Party is. That's just what the American government system is. And it's exactly the same in this country too. You can't have a revolutionary socialist Labour Party member in the parliament because that's not what that is.
No,
you can't plug the one thing into the other. They're non-compatible. So what are we? And so objecting to him, the danger is that what you're seeding without meaning to is the idea that, well, we could find a candidate who actually was a good progressive left or socialist candidate to be a Democratic senator, and that would have some sort of meaningful effect on real political change. And I just don't believe that.
Yeah.
So what we're ultimately talking about is the staffing of the Democratic Congress or the Democratic Party's caucus. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the staffing of a capitalist government and a bourgeois party. Having said that, I think it's still worthwhile pointing out that this party shouldn't be running a guy with an SS tattoo who was actively involved in war crimes, aggressive imperial war crimes, and who has clearly not actually turned his back on that in any meaningful way. No matter what supposed left-wingers and supposed progressives have just hallucinated and projected onto him. He's running on, let's reform the Pentagon and close the shipbuilding gap with China. Imperial competition. And let's get recruitment back up. That's what he's running on in terms of his actual military policies. Let's be realistic about what we're actually talking about here.
Yeah, no, sorry, it's just, it reminds me of Tulsi Gabbard in the, there was some supposed leftists who were making, she made some noises,
Jimmy Dore was a big Tulsi fan.
I let you just forget that Jimmy Dore exists. It's just a thing,
I haven't been back to Jimmy, but for all I know, he still is. Wouldn't surprise me.
Sure. No, I, you know, I think about, like the bad thing about the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, or the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, were all the U.S. soldiers who were killed. That's the tragedy, and it's like
Yeah.
that is, I mean, it is a tragedy. Like I'm not saying it's not, but there's an order of magnitude difference between orders of magnitude difference between the number of American soldiers who were injured or passed on and the casualties in the native populations. And I actually have a Reddit post from Mr. Platner from 2010 when he was still in the service. I found this one. This one I did locate this on the Internet Archive. Would you like me to read it for you?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
The question is something like, which wars do you wish you had fought in? And one thing that you get from, okay, you may have seen, I found it independently. It may have been quoted somewhere else, but and I love, you look at this guy's Reddit history. It's all been deleted now. At least have the courage to leave it up. I don't know. That's just I don't know. Like, to me, that's if you're really not trying to run from your past, don't remove it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I found the archive link. Here it's which wars do you wish you'd fought in? And oh my God, he says the Indian Wars, the Philippines, Haiti, and Nicaragua in the 1920s, Vietnam, Nicaragua, and El Salvador again in the 80s. As for would have, I did for Iraq and would love to get to the GAN, that's Afghanistan. Small wars are pretty enjoyable. It's the big ones with days of artillery fire and inhuman brutality that take the fun out of fighting. But small wars, and Iraq and Afghanistan are indeed small wars, provide the rush of small combat actions along with the intellectual challenge of building personal relationships and infrastructure within the local community. Small wars are thinking wars, which I much prefer over the bloody slugfest of great power conventional warfare. Oh, and the revolution, because I'm American. So what I like is fighting in wars in which I have unimaginable air superiority to my enemies, and I could just crush them and not be in a lot of wars of imperialism, wars of we just get to crush the imperial subjects. That's the kind of wars I really, those are the fun wars, it's just
two things there, right?
Sure. I mean, firstly, more than two, but at least two. Yes.
His stance is the same today as it is in that post. His stance
absolutely
is essentially the same as all the far-right supposed non-interventionists like Nick Fuentes, which is that they're against war because the American war abroad, to the extent that they are, because it's too costly for America. So that's what he's saying there. He's saying, I don't want these big, great power conventional war. I just want, the ones that are good for me, basically. The other thing I
don't want to be in a war when I have to fight somebody who's as strong as I am. That would suck.
Yeah, that would suck.
I mean, that's the implication there. Like, I wouldn't want to fight the Nazis. The Nazis had really big guns.
That's been the operative requirement of most American wars throughout America's history, to be honest, as that list that you just read out shows. The other thing to say about that is that, with the exception of the last one, the American Revolutionary War, all those wars that he mentioned as being either involved in or wanting to be involved in, all of them war crimes. Every single one of them.
Absolutely. Every single one,
and at least one, an actual genocide.
Yeah.
The Indian Wars were a genocide. That's what we're talking about.
Absolutely. I mean, that's God. I even read it and I'm like, oh God, he actually did. God, that is, that's his first example. Yeah, scalping Indians. That's what that's the kind of war I'd love to fight. Like, Jesus, I mean, God. It's just
Nicaragua and El Salvador in the 80s. That's Reagan's wars in with the Contras and all that shit in the 1980s. That's what he's talking about.
I want to go crush drug cartels. I don't know. Jesus.
Well,
Christ.
I got some
set up. We need a military junta in Guatemala. Apparently,
I got some great news for you, Graham, because it looks like Trump's about to launch another war, pretty much exactly like that, upon Venezuela any day now.
I mean, he's already kind of in the. God, the propaganda around that shit. It's like you're bombing fishing boats. No, those are narco terrorists. Those are that's Trinidad. Fuck you.
Okay.
God damn. No evidence. And then these are terrorists. These are people. They're sending in their people. They're coming to invade our shores. It's like, I'm pretty sure those are fishing boats. Everybody agrees those are fishing boats except for Donald fucking Trump. Jesus
no,
Christ.
you don't understand. They're bad people. So we're allowed to just murder
they're brown
them.
people. They speak Spanish, you see, and they want to come here. And that's just disgusting. Yeah. No.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. God.
I think the real story, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, because of course it matters if somebody like that gets power. But in a way, I don't see huge stakes involved in which of the Democratic candidates gets the nomination for Senate, to be honest.
No,
if it's him or if it's the other one, I don't see that as a major issue. I really don't, I'm afraid.
I mean, you'd rather have a progressive. A progressive is gonna vote slightly more often in a good direction, et cetera, et cetera. I just don't believe that he's really has his heart in it. And B,
nothing about his record or his statements.
I don't know. There are all kinds of just practical reasons to not like this too. I mean, look, we don't do electoral politics here, but I don't know. Do you remember a senator named Robert Byrd by chance?
It rings a bell.
So Robert Byrd had the distinction. I think he's like the longest serving U.S. senator in history, something like that. He also served in the House, and he's like a record setter there. He was briefly a member of the Klan in the 30s, right?
Yeah,
briefly a member of the Klan in the 30s.
I got him. Yeah,
and for entirety of my for as long as he lived, every conversation I had with any right winger about politics, like, well, yeah, but you have a guy who was in the Klan, and so therefore it's like. I mean, it's cynical exploitation, et cetera, but it's also like, it's true. You can't, like, if you are a good Democrat and you want to, like, express Democratic, the values that the Democrats express on a purely functional level, on a purely we want to win elections level, to just hand your enemies this tool it's political malpractice. Like, suddenly this guy gets in, the people who have supported this guy every single time. Well, Dick Fuentes is a Nazi, but like your guy, he had a Nazi tattoo. So he worked for Blackwater. He did, come on. Nick Fuentes didn't work for Blackwater. Sure. It becomes on both sides. It's instant. And this is easily avoidable. Just on, again, purely not ideological, nothing. Just on a purely, practical, we want to win elections and we want to do things level. Like, this is such an own goal. I mean, it's just, the Nazi tattoo guy. Okay, sorry, you don't get to be a senator. I'm sorry. Like, or do something else first. Do something else first. Like, prove your bona fides, and I will support you 100% of the time.
Well, arrive at actual anti-imperial politics.
Exactly.
The narrative about this guy is that he's realized, because he was involved in these wars that he repeatedly volunteered to take part in.
He served 4 tours, and then he worked at Abu Ghraib. Now, after the tortures, he was like, oh my God. Then he worked for Blackwater. He went back and was a private contractor for fucking Blackwater. And then, no, this seems like maybe a bad thing to be doing. And I get that people, one of the things that draws people to the military and draws people back into the military is oftentimes you don't get out and have like a solid set of skills. And so suddenly you've got to like make your way in the world. I promise you there were ways of making your way in the world that did not involve working for Blackwater in 2015 or whatever.
Also, one of the most disgusting things anybody has said about this came from Emma Vigeland at the Majority
Report. I can't wait for this. Yeah,
where she tweeted something like, well, it was all the standard stuff you'd expect about purity tests and people can change and this is Oppo research, all the stuff you'd expect.
None of us disagree with that. I just want to see some time. Like, you don't get to be a senator now. Yeah. Try again in 15 years. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, people can change. So do that, Graham. Go away and actually do that. That's what we want. And show some evidence of it in your actual policies that you've written down, instead of stuff that's clearly just, the same old US imperialism, but with the occasional nice word about Palestinians, which every fucking Democrat does. Okay? Yeah. They all do that. Biden did that as he was funding the genocide.
They say something nice and then drop the bombs. That's exactly
it's very clearly just, rainbow washed imperialism. So yes, people can change. Go and do that, please. Don't just ask for the benefits of having done it without having actually done it. But what she comes to, the thing that really I found offensive is this thing at the end of this post where she says, "Do we want an authentic working class party or not?" Jesus fucking Christ, Emma.
Can we ask a little bit better than guy with a Nazi tattoo who said Nazi shit, vaguely imperialist, not Nazi shit. Sorry, I was being. Who said a bunch of terrible things about women, who used the R slur. Can we aim a little bit higher than? Can we just say maybe there could be like 10 years between being the edgy red lord guy who uses the R slur and post about how great the war is, and being a U.S. senator? Maybe there just needs to be just a little bit of contrition there. That's all I'm asking for. It's just I'm a centrist Democrat now because I don't want this guy to be a senator Jesus Christ. It's so,
and also, what
so
the fuck are you?
disgusting.
What the fuck are you talking about? This guy isn't from. He's not blue collar. He's not a working class guy that never had any option but to join up, or he couldn't get a job. His grandfather was some sort of famous architect. His mother was a restaurateur. This guy went to private schools. He's not a horny-handed son of the working class of mate.
Yes.
Okay, he just isn't. And secondly, you want an authentic working class party. Secondly, you want the Democratic Party to become a working class party. How naive are you? And thirdly, who was he killing in Iraq and Afghanistan? That was the working class too. Kamala threw the brown US working class under the bus when she refused to distance herself from Biden. All she had to do was distance herself rhetorically from Biden's policy in Gaza, and she would not do it. And look where that got her. Firstly, this is immoral, it's racist, it's inherently white supremacist. You're only counting the white American working class by definition. You're just discounting the working class abroad, let alone the brown working class in America. And secondly, pragmatically, it does not work. You did this, and this is why you have Trump. So don't give me that fucking lesser evil bullshit. Trying to do that is why you end up with the greater evil.
And they've done it over and over again throughout my entire fucking life. Do you know how frustrating it is to watch American politics from America with this perspective? It's just like, God.
And Newsom's trying to do exactly the same thing with trans people. He's trying to get himself that Dem presidential nomination by throwing trans people under the bus.
Oh, and trans people are just public enemy number one right now. It's just, I don't know, Spanish speaking people, but I mean, God, trans people who also speak Spanish, those are, right out,
It's the hypocrisy that gets me. Look, Trump just knocked, give me some rope here. Okay. Trump just knocked down the east wing of the White House. Okay. And all the Fox News people and the Newsmax people and all the right wing pundits, they're all defending it. And their narrative is, the Democrats are they're all, they're squealing and screeching about something that's perfectly normal. Presidents always renovate the White House. It's nothing. It's good, actually. That's their narrative, right? Now, everybody, including them, knows that if Kamala had won that election and had bricked up one small bathroom window, they would all be having conniption fits about it and calling it treason. Okay, everybody knows that.
Exactly. Yeah.
These people, Hassan Piker and Sam Cedar and Ryan Grimm and Bernie Sanders, okay, if there was a candidate who was exactly like Graham Platner, but he was running as a Republican, exactly. They would be going on endlessly about the guy has an SS tattoo. The guy did this in Iraq. The guy said that about sexual assault, etc. That. Zoran Mamdani, this isn't about him particularly, but just imagine if he had an old Hamas tattoo or something like that.
Yes. I mean, they went back in his teenage years and when he was saying Mediasan, that's Mediasan. Mediasan, they have some old footage of him going out and saying things. So they smear him with that. No, man, if Mamdani had ever said one positive word about Hamas, that would be the only. I mean, it practically is the only thing that you hear from certain quarters. God, the people are. Oh my God, we have to talk about I can't wait until he's the New York mayor. It's gonna make so many people mad. I am. It's like the one ray of hope is Zoran Mamdani is about
just on the Schadenfreude alone.
Yes, exactly. Oh man, God, they keep playing the same. That clip of Charlie Kirk complaining about him eating rice with his hands.
Yeah,
I have heard that clip so many times. They keep playing it over and over and over again. It's just positively. It's like this is how disgusting Mamdani is. He eats rice with his hands. I did not know that clip would. The many times I listened to it while I was prepping that episode, I've heard it more since then. They just keep playing it on Charlie Kirk's show, on Megyn Kelly's show, it's just oh my god. That
was the decline of the West, as I
the decline. Because Jesus Christ, I can practically quote it from memory at this point. Anyway, this is beside the point. Anyway, Graham Platner, please do not step away.
Yeah.
Do something with your life. Come back in a few years. Prove yourself. There are ways. I don't know. It's just such an own goal for me. It's just why can you not actually hold a principle in your head and go maybe this guy I think for me it's easier because I don't believe he's an actual progressive. I don't believe he actually holds anything like the kinds of left wing beliefs. I think it's I think it's all a pose to run from the left against this more moderate, against some more moderate candidates. I think it's all a pose. I don't believe it. I don't believe it for a second. I'm sorry. I just don't. Maybe if I believed it, I'd be, but I don't. I don't believe it.
Yeah. At best, he's a very confused person, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. As most people are on their politics. Like, I mean, I get it, but like, maybe you need to figure that shit out before you run for Senate. I mean, like, run for your town council. Run to, like, do something. Prove yourself. I don't know. Like, sure, we've got like the election is in like 11 months, 10 months. Yeah, like basically a year from now. You've got time to find another progressive. Like, it doesn't have to be this guy. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's just so.
But they don't.
This is so easy.
That's it. They don't want an actual progressive. They want a guy that has exactly these kinds of views about things like American imperialism. They want a guy.
Well, I think you could find somebody who had like the authentic, like those, like, again, to the degree that Bernie Sanders is a progressive, like Bernie Sanders is 100% on board with that shit. Like, look, again, that stuff is vile. That's just par for the course for this. You could find somebody who actually believes, who says all the things that Graham Platner does, maybe tone down the imperialism, by 10%. That would be nice. But you can find somebody like that who doesn't have all this baggage. That's my point. Like, it
doesn't actually have a literal SS tattoo.
Just on a pure,
now covered over.
Just on a pure, like, this is a game. This politics is a game that you want to win side of it. Like, I think you've got to be able to find another candidate. It doesn't have to be this guy. I don't know. Like, it's just, even if he shat rainbows, like, like, surely you could find somebody else. You've got time. It doesn't have to be this guy. I'm sorry. It just doesn't.
He basically does shit rainbows because he's a white guy, isn't he? This is a huge part of this is just that he has the white guy privilege. That's what I mean. If you can imagine if Zoran Mamdani had ever actually said anything, positive about Hamas or Al Qaeda or whatever, they treat him as if he did already, let alone if he actually had. But yeah, and it's dispiriting to see people who are. I mean, it's not surprising really, but nonetheless, you can't help feeling sad and dismayed to see people who, I'll speak for myself, people that I did at one point have a lot of respect for, rushing around this guy to coddle him and baby him like he's this helpless little baby in need of help.
I think the majority report has been the most disappointing for me on that regard. Like,
yeah, that's it.
Yeah. It's just
I expected better. I certainly expected better from Sam Cedar. But
I mean, that there's a reason Jamie Elizabeth doesn't work there anymore. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was never better than when Jamie Elizabeth was out there, like, actually promoting communism. That was great.
She was always. I mean, people remember that era fondly because Michael Brooks was funny, and he was funny.
Yeah,
but she would start talking, and suddenly you would think, somebody's actually going to say something worth hearing, and then Michael would talk over her.
Yeah, and, sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Brooks was a real one too, but like, no, it's like the whole thing. Anyway,
it's
disappointing. Anyway, do you think people are going to get mad at us for this? I actually don't really care. But
I don't give a shit.
I think it's possible. I don't know. I've posted about this on Blue Sky. I mean, I don't know. I think people are mostly. I don't know. We say what we think, but still, it's one of those things. Of like we're getting a little heated. Like, I don't know. People might think we're being a little aggressive. I don't know. To me, this is very simple. Like, like, do something. Like, I don't know. I've expressed myself. It's just, I don't think it's automatically disqualifying, but I don't believe this guy is the guy. I just find somebody else. It shouldn't be that hard. I don't know. Like,
don't defend him. Don't defend a guy with a literal Nazi tattoo who was involved in the war crimes of the war on terror. Don't be a Mephisto.
Watch the Angel of Color video. Anyway, yes.
So another story was this.
This guy. Two more stories to cover.
Kenneth Morgan.
Kenneth Leland Morgan in my notes here.
Who turned up at a pub in Athens, Georgia. And I think he was trying to sort of get away with it under the cover of Halloween. In a full SS uniform.
That looked like a pretty authentic SS uniform. I'm not going to lie. That looked, the video was pretty grainy, but that did not look like, the kind of thing you put together in an afternoon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it looked like an extra from Downfall.
He did, very much so. So yeah, there's not a lot here. He appeared in full Nazi regalia. It became a viral video. He gets kicked out of the bar.
This seems to be a thing they're doing. Like this guy that walked into a college lecture hall somewhere and started doing Sieg Heils or something. They I don't know. They seem to have started just sort of deciding to turn up in places, grinning, dressed as Nazis or something.
I can't imagine why. I can't imagine what factors might be leading to that. But yeah, he shows up and I believe he assaulted a young woman outside the bar after he was kicked out. So it became a story.
I think it was in the bar because this
is it in the bar? Okay,
the young lady, and he's not a student of the nearby university.
He's in his 30s. He was 32. Like, come on,
But this young woman,
I was
Grace
a student.
Lang,
I went back as an adult. You can do that, but he was not a student. No, he was clearly in.
Grace Lang is her name, and she was a fucking hero. She is a student. She was in the bar. She has friends who are Jewish who were upset by it, and she walked up to this guy and basically told him that he was being a total dickhead. And so I've read various reports on this, but it looks like at some point she started trying to pull the Nazi swastika armband off him. Which good, well done, right? Yep. That's correct. That's what you should do. And he smashed her in the face with a bottle, causing quite serious harm, as you would imagine. I mean, that's why you do that.
Getting hit. I've never been hit in the face with a beer bottle, but I know what a beer bottle feels like. Those are thick for a reason. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Anyway, I think the story is less what he did and more the fact that he was bailed out by this guy, Paul Miller.
Yes. I mean, that's kind of what we wanted to just kind of throw in here. Paul Miller, he goes to GypsyCrusader online. He has he's very active on Goyim TV back in the back in the Siege Pill days. That's how far back. He's one of those guys.
Yeah, blast from the past.
One of the part of that group where they shine they shine anti-Semitic images on buildings and shit. That's kind of they're basically just big Nazi anti-Semitic Holocaust denying trolls. But yeah, he put up the money for the bail fund and bailed him out. And he claims he's going to have him on the podcast. I will be checking for that. If that comes up, I will definitely cover it further. But I haven't seen it yet, so I've been checking the various websites. I'm not going to link to it for obvious reasons, but
yeah,
if you know, you know. But so I'll be keeping an eye out for that. But I think that's the interesting thing is that like he becomes a cause celeb for these guys. Suddenly. And this isn't just like some random guy who was just sympathetic. No, this is an outright like this is the Siege Pill era. This is like the Atomwaffen division era. Nazi. Like this is an actual like really aggressive online Nazi. This is this is not some nobody who just had $1,000 to drop it on that. No. This is ideological. This is real.
Yeah. That's why we wanted to touch upon this. I think because this has been fairly widely reported, but most of the reporting is vague about who this Morgan guy is. I think we wanted to. Well, you wanted to.
No,
make sure.
Morgan. I don't know. Like, I don't know that he has. I couldn't find like a
Miller,
YouTube.
Sorry, Miller. I meant Miller.
Sure. Yeah. No, I just want to be clear. Like Morgan, so as far has never like entered my consciousness before. Now he may have some kind of presence. He may be an up and comer. That would explain a few things. But yeah, I haven't like. Oh, I've been kind of keeping an eye out for him, but I haven't like kind of seen him do a whole lot. But if he's being bailed out by GypsyCrusader, that speaks volumes.
Yeah. But I saw the X post where Miller announces this, and it's almost you would think it was something from The Onion because it's got the avatar is the Heath Ledger Joker, and
he very famously appears on camera with that makeup, like it's a regular thing for Paul Miller.
Okay, well there you go. And his handle is at Joker Waffen Friend. So there you go. What?
Yeah,
Adam Waffen division. And he says, update: Kenneth Morgan bail has been paid at gas chambers. Myself and all the people who donated made this possible. Apparently, it was done with sort of online donations. I don't know if you're hanging out with people who call themselves at gas chambers online, and you just treat that like it's perfectly normal. I think that says it all.
I mean, it does, except we actually just already know who this guy is. So, it doesn't, if you've been listening to Don't Speak Sherman, you're probably familiar with the name Paul Miller. You've probably heard it at least once or twice. But, when I say he's part of the Siege Pill era, I understand that episode was in 2019. So it's been 6 years. But, he's just a straight up Nazi. He's a straight up Holocaust denier. He's straight up, he's one of the worst of the worst. Just ideologically and like in terms of his affect. Back in the era when they go on these these video streaming sites and like try to convert people to Nazism by how many bodies can fit in so many shoeboxes, like that sort of shit, and
really clever stuff like that.
trying to get like teenagers involved in it, going on Omegle, that era. That's who GypsyCrusader has always been. And or Paul Miller, and he's hosted, I mean, kind of everybody who's anybody on his channel, at least at some point or another. Yeah, he's very, I mean, within certain communities, he is influential. Let's just put it that way.
So the last story I think we want to touch upon is the Chris Booth story. I feel like I've done a lot of talking this episode, so why don't you take the lead on this one?
Sure. No worries. No, we're doing very brief like bullet points on these two because they're kind of developing stories, and we'll see how and if they develop. Anyway, so Chris Booth is the husband of Meghyn Booth. Meghyn Booth spelled Mejhyn Booth. That's
what a tragedy.
What a tragedy, yes. Yeah, no, naming, that era of naming your children. It's 30 years old now, Yeah, back in the 90s, we're going to name them. Anyway, that's not her fault, obviously. But,
plenty of things are, that isn't.
If you want to Google her, that's how you Google her. Let's just put it that way. I'll put a link to a, so Meghyn Booth is a treasurer at the Maple Valley Township here in Michigan. I am not doxing myself. Everybody knows I live in Michigan. But and I won't say how far from me that is, but it's
too
it's
close.
The same state, close enough. I mean, I know that area. I know it's kind of northeast of Grand Rapids. It's this very rural community. It's one of those towns where if you Google Maps it, it's actually just a square. Like the town is defined by this is by a certain cardinal direction, etc. And yeah, no, it's a very right wing area. It doesn't surprise me that there's Nazi activity moving on there because Meghyn Booth married to Chris Booth. Chris Booth, it turns out, has an online presence. It's by Shameless Sperg on YouTube. Recently, after his kind of identity was revealed, he took down all but 2 of his posts, I believe, all but 2 of his videos, and he says, "I'm just doing this for now, just to be in hiding. I'm going to put it all back up, so it's all going to be there eventually." I did find his Rumble channel, and I found a couple of videos that have been uploaded. He's a straight up Nazi. He's a straight up Holocaust denier. He's one of these guys. He's kind of up and coming, I think. His Rumble has, or his YouTube has a little under 2,000 viewers or subscribers. So smaller creator, but every bit like Nick Fuentes. Maybe not as bad as GypsyCrusader, but he's in that same ballpark. He's just one of those guys.
Nick Fuentes is now almost fully mainstreamed. He started out as James Allsup's Fall Guy, so. From small beginnings.
James Allsup's buddy, God, the first time I heard, when I first heard Fuentes, the show Car Talk, it was on NPR for years. It might still be on Car Talk at all?
We don't get NPR here.
Okay. Well, I didn't know. I mean, it's different a very famous. I get it, but it's a kind of very famous content. They're like, car nerds who they're like old guys. I thought the guy was 60 years old just based on his ethics, like I thought the guy was like this like Chicago guys, like, yeah, back in my day, sort of thing. And like, no, Nick Fuentes was like 17 or 18 years old at that point. It's like, my God, I think he just turned 18 when I first started listening to him, right after Unite the Right. But this guy, I mean, he's in his 30s, I guess. He's late 20s, early 30s, something like that. And every bit of Holocaust denier, every bit of Nazi.
This is from Shameless Sperg, aka Chris Booth's alt.censored page or alt-censored page. It is a wonderful little video entitled "A Few Reasons I Don't Like Jews." It's not complicated. And here we go.
Hello, folks. I am the Shameless Sperg. I hope you're doing well today. So today I wanted to talk about how Jews hate free speech, freedom of association, and do not support self-determination for white people. Some of you may have heard about the return to the land movement that some of our people have started northeast Arkansas, purchasing 160 acres of land. They want to start basically a white enclave, which is great, which is exactly what we need to be doing. But the ADL isn't too happy about it. So let's take a look at what Lindsay Bach-Friedman has to say.
Residents of northeast Arkansas should be deeply concerned about a white supremacist group's attempt to...
And I think that's just about all we need to hear of that.
I have not seen kind of additional stories about what is happening with Meghyn Booth, whether she's going to step down or kind of what's happening. Right now, it looks like it's just going to blow over.
She's just denying everything, isn't she? She's just saying, I got nothing to do with my husband's stuff.
All I saw was like one short article. I'm going to, I've been meaning to do this. I'm going to reach out to the person. I found an article at MLive that's kind of like a Michigan state of Michigan kind of, it's like all our local newspapers just kind of collated on one website. So I'm going to reach out to the author of that story and send him some links, and we'll see. We'll see if you get some more progress on that. But so we shall see. Anyway, I'm highlighting it here so we can cover it in the future. Of course, I put the Shameless Sperg YouTube channel in my archive list, which is now working again. So don't worry, I'm gonna have all your stuff soon. So that's he doesn't seem scared of that, but maybe you should be. We'll see.
Yeah, and a good article about him from Jason Wilson, which will be in the links.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, friend of the show, Jason Wilson.
Proud to say. And yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah,
I think we're done.
I think we're done. Pretty much all we have. But
we've covered literally all the news.
All the news. It's everything. All the news that's fit to print. That's what we just did. All right. We will, again, I've said this in the previous episode, we're going to try to do something, either bonus content or a news brief or a regular episode. We're trying to go every week. We might miss a week here and there, but we're trying to produce more content and get out there. Hopefully you guys like this. Hopefully you all, sorry, didn't mean to assume the gender of everyone listening. I know for a fact that's not true. But anyway, So please, if you feel inclined to do so, drop either myself or Jack $1 a month on our Patreon, and you get all the bonus content. That's it. So
yes, indeed.
That's
or
all I have for you.
Just a share of the old, links on the social medias would be much appreciated.
Absolutely.
Whatever you got, we will take and be very grateful for. And
absolutely.
With that, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.